Hello. So I'm going to do a quick code presentation tonight. It is nighttime for me. And what it is on is for 1D layout, whether to use Flex or CSS Grid. If you're not familiar with uh, either system, just do some Googling and you can find out about them. CSS Grid is the latest and greatest. As far as grid systems go, it's considered to be the most powerful. Of course, it will only work on new browser versions, but it does work across all different browsers given their latest version. So the the common recommendation is, well, if there's a 1D layout, use grid. If there's a two-dimensional layout, like a table-like structure or layout, then, or I'm sorry, if there's a 1D, use flex. If there's a 2D, use grid. But in my own development, I have found a compelling reason to use grid for one-dimensional, and maybe across most cases use grid even for one-dimensional. And the reason why is because given needs of a layout, you're gonna come up with HTML code that is purely used for delivering the layout and don't deal with semantic representation. Like here we have a header that is dynamic, and that there's this variable width kind of dead or kind of negative space here between the two different header sections. And the way to do this with Flex is to have a for layout purposes only container for the left side, and here you can see the code for it right here. It's display flex for the entire section, and then display flex again for this left side. As you can see, flex here and flex there. And this layout purposes only HTML code reduces the semantic strength, or like, I guess you could maybe say something like semantic index level. So that is desired to be avoided with your HTML code, of course. And as you'd probably suspect, the big aha moment in this presentation is, well, we could actually use the power of CSS Grid and have a more semantic HTML content like we see here. And that is done using grid, what are called grid template areas. So grid template areas are very useful, especially for complex layouts. They're, in my opinion, a godsend. It's very easy using grid template areas to just say, hey, this is what the visual layout will look like. And that's what I'm doing here. And essentially I'm saying, have nav1, nav2, nav3, like a filler area, and then nav4. And then I assign my visual representation elements in the CSS code to actual classes, which are header nav item 1, 2, 3, and 4. You know, you can see they're being assigned to the visual layout names, if you will, from up here. And grid template areas, number one, very useful for complex layouts, like I was saying. Number two, the focus of this presentation, useful as well for having HTML that is super semantic, has a high level of semantic strength, has a high semantic index, if you will. So that's that. I have one follow-up point, a bit of a exception to my main point, which is that one weakness of Grid compared to Flex is Grid does not have a line baseline. So as you can see here, the Flex layout for the header is being done baseline, right? Here I have a line item center on the Grid header. So, you know, given the design that a developer is given in a project, there may be a need, because the design calls for it, of having baseline alignment. So in that case, you might want to do what the designer has to make everyone happy, and forego the semantic strength and relegate yourself to using this less semantic HTML Flex-based solution, which is fine. And for any viewers that may say, hey, well, what if I just align items end? Well, you could see doing stuff like that and not just saying align item is baseline is already buggy, and we tried it out. You can see that it's aligning to the bottom. And why? Because there's a bottom margin to these headers, and you could do stuff like, oh well, let's have headers have no margins, but then you're kind of defeating, you're making a big change for a smaller goal, which is it's a self-defeating process. So long story short, just for 1D layouts, if you want more semantic HTML, and you have certain specific needs in the design, you may want to go with Grid, or you may then need to go with Flex if you need baseline alignment. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.